Been a lot of different topics of discussion on this channel, specifically for criminal defense legal professionals, from legislation, current legal trends and updates, practical tips and practices, but I think sometimes it's good to start back from the very beginning. There's a lot of people right now that are maybe graduating their first year in law school, they're taking the bar, they're graduating from a paralegal program, and it's good to go back to the basics and start with the first step when you enter a law firm, which is client intake. And in today's video, we're going to talk about what is client intake, how to conduct client intake, and some best practices, so stay tuned. My name's Corrin. I'm a freelance criminal paralegal, owner of Lucid Legal Support, which is a freelance criminal paralegal business. Essentially, if you've never worked in a law firm before, client intake is when a prospective client contacts a law firm interested in the law firm's legal services. But the law firm doesn't just take on any client that they want. There needs to be a specific intake and then evaluation process to see if the client is a good fit for the law firm. This is usually conducted by the legal assistant, paralegal, and then it's sent to the attorney for review if the attorney deems that this client is a good fit and it's a good case for the law firm to take on. Client intake is critical specifically for criminal cases because it determines the case type, whether it's a serious offense, not serious offense, determine if there's any criminal history for the client, demographics of the client, any risks, if they're financially able to pay the law firm or not, as well as other factors that go in that the paralegal and the law firm is going to want to know up front before it gets to the attorney's review. So as a general overview of the intake process, there's usually an initial contact, which is when the client contacts the firm. There's a type of screening that the paralegal or legal assistant does for fit and if there's any urgency on the case type, as well as referring to the attorney for evaluation and review. So the first step with a prospective client or potential client when they contact the law firm is the method of contact. So this could be by phone, this could be by email, they could just show up to the law firm in person. Maybe the law firm has a system set up on their website or their case management system where they do an automatic process. It's just going to depend. And then depending on the method of contact, the law firm might have a greeting or intro that they want that's standardized for intake. And then it goes into gathering basic information. So this is going to be self-explanatory, but I want to include that it's very important to get the basics of the prospective client. If nothing else, you want their name and contact information. Date of birth is great too, but phone number, email, address, those are the bare minimum that you want to get in the initial stages when you're talking with someone. Some firms may use standardized forms for this. They may develop a digital form that either the paralegal or legal assistant can send to the client and then they can fill it out, send it back and get the intake process started, or the paralegal or legal assistant may ask questions. And what's a really great tool is when this intake form then connects to the firm's case management system. And that's really great for integration because then the information is all there. There's no copy and pasting or having to input information more than once. It's just really seamless, but again, it's going to depend on the law firm. So when intake is being conducted and you're either on the phone with the client, emailing, they're filling out a form, whatever the process of your case is, there's going to be some key points in the intake form or during the intake processing. And some key sections are going to be, obviously, like we already talked about, the client's demographic. It's also going to include specific offense information. A case number or court file number is always really great and really helpful, but maybe this is before they've been charged and they've just been arrested and they've retained an attorney beforehand anyway, so they might not have that. But we want as much information as we can from that client to determine where they're at in the case process and how we can help them. We're also going to want to know their criminal history. That's going to impact in terms of the attorney evaluating, is this a plausible case or not? Also, is this individual in custody? Sometimes it's not always the defendant that's calling. It might be a family member or a friend calling for them. Do they have a bail or bond? Do they have conditions that maybe they could get out on? We're wanting to know where the case is at in the process and then determine from there what steps the law firm can take and what else would need to be done. It's also important for discussion of the client's goals. This is really big because when you're with the client, you want to set reasonable expectations. And if the client's expectations are completely different from how the case trajectory may be, or how things have been going or may continue to go, as a legal professional would know, that might pose a problem. And that's something to discuss with the attorney, of course, but we want to know, is this client just trying to get their case settled as soon as possible? Do they want to go to trial? Do they want to try to get this dismissed? How do they want to fight the case? What are they willing, not willing to do? We want to get those parameters and boundaries ahead of time. After there's those discussions of the client information, such as demographics, case information, criminal history, client's goals, a really big important factor is doing a conflicts check. Again, law firms will usually have some type of case management system for this, where you can determine that you make sure that the law firm is not representing a co-defendant, or maybe you're representing a family member or a spouse in a non-criminal matter. We want to make sure that there's no conflicts of this matter. That's something that you can do internally. And additionally, there needs to be some questions and things that you're thinking about and asking. Can the firm actually take on this client? If everything looks good about the case, is this case in the attorney's jurisdiction to work? Is this the type of case that the law firm can take on for their legal services? Additionally, is this a time-sensitive matter? Do they have an arraignment tomorrow? Are they set for a jury trial in a couple weeks or not? If it's a sensitive matter, and if the law firm decides to take on the case, we want to know what steps need to be taken in order for the attorney to jump on and then be able to smoothly integrate in the case as new counsel. The other most important factor is the client financially capable of paying? Now, this is again where it's going to be up to the attorney's evaluation and review, but when we relay this information to the attorney, we want to know, yup, no budget, do whatever it takes to get a fair try at the case, or hey, this is what I could do per month, or this is how much of a retainer I can put up. Is that acceptable or not? I don't know. It really all depends on the firm. And then again, just reiterating, are their goals in alignment with the potential outcome of the case? So after you as the legal professional have done this comprehensive intake, now it's time to make sure you have all the applicable information and be able to write a quick memo or summary to the attorney for their review, so they can either conduct intake or informal meeting with the client, or maybe they're able to make a decision without that, just with the information that you've gathered. If the attorney does decide that they want to accept the case and take the case on, there's obviously a couple other steps that you want to follow up with the client on. You want to keep them informed of the status of their case if the attorney hasn't reviewed it yet. If they have reviewed and they decide to accept the case, you want to make sure all the information is successfully integrated into the case management system, and discussing next steps of what that looks like for the client to take action, what the attorney needs to do, and then what the paralegal needs to do. So with that being said, intake is a very vital, probably one of the most important processes for a criminal defense case. Really, the intake person, again, whether that's a legal assistant, paralegal, whatever your title, you're essentially the salesperson. You're the one that's the first touch point for potential clients of the firm. You're representing the firm. And you also have a hand in determining, is this a good fit, is this not? Now, this obviously takes a lot of people skills, a lot of communication skills. This isn't always taught in programs, unfortunately. This could be limited into what you're doing and may take some additional training. Maybe you're talking with the client and you don't know the terminology to ask, or even worse, maybe you know the terminology, but the client doesn't know the terminology, and that can create a lot of miscommunications and maybe misunderstandings. While this was a summary, I am coming out with a course soon about conducting a confident and captivating client intake so that you can really wow not only your attorney, but also the clients that are coming into the firm. Because if you're able to get clients in and get money in and be able to evaluate and determine what are suitable clients or not, you are going to be gold, and you are going to be so invaluable to the firm. So it's so important to be able to know those people skills, communication skills, terminology, and more. We're going to discuss specifics and examples in my course coming up, so please stay tuned. If you haven't already, you can go on my website, Lucid Legal Support, and subscribe so you have all the new things coming my way. And if you haven't already grabbed it, and if you're unsure about terminology, feel free to grab my cheat sheet for criminal law terminology and abbreviations. It's so different across police departments, courts, other agencies. It's crazy. So to have you not go on an endless rabbit hole of Google searching, I did create a cheat sheet for you. If there's any questions, concerns, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, share this if you found helpful. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you in the next one.